Now, barriers to entry are factors that can prevent new firms from entering the industry. These barriers to entry can be either natural barriers to entry or man-made barriers to entry. So what I'm going to do here is to go through some of these barriers to entry with you. We start first with these barriers to entry called economies of skill. Now, how come economies of skill can be a barrier to entry for firms entering the industry? I bring you the example of a supermarket versus a small-time convenience store in the neighborhood. Now, when a supermarket places order for its inventories, is able to place a bulk order for the things that it purchases. So it will be able to negotiate with its suppliers for much lower price. And this much lower price will allow it to price their final product at a lower price than other firms. Whereas if you're operating a small convenience store in the neighborhood area, you might be placing a very small order and therefore do not have the bargaining or negotiating power with the supplier, and your pricing might have to be a little bit higher than your supermarkets. So this pricing power due to the economies of scale allows supermarkets to be able to charge a lower price that smaller firms would not have been able to charge. Another barrier to entry will be the high initial startup costs that firms will need to put in before they can even enter the industry. One example of an industry with very high barriers to entry will be the provision of electricity. So before you can start providing electricity to a country or to even an area, you will need to first lay power cables, which can be very expensive, as well as to acquire power generation equipment. All these are costs that can be very, very significant, and it might prevent new firms from being able to enter the industry. So another example of a barrier to entry will be legal barriers. For example, intellectual property laws like patents will prevent firms from going to an industry and mass producing a drug, because most drugs that are out there, they have patents protecting them. So you can't just simply go into the industry and start mass producing drugs. Now, another example of a barrier to entry will be brand loyalty. So if we look at AirPods, the AirPods is a very, very simple idea. They are wireless earbuds. Now, so AirPods are so expensive. So imagine if you've got a great idea and you want to create a similar kind of wireless buds for your ears, and you just produce it for $30 and you expect people to buy, and you find that no one will take up your offer. It's because many people are attracted to the Apple brand. So this brand loyalty causes people to buy from Apple even though a pair of AirPods can cost more than $200. This is how brand loyalty can prevent new firms from entering the industry even if they have something similar that they are coming up with. Now, so how do barriers to entry affect firms? Now, when an industry has a very high barriers to entry, the firms in the industry will be able to continue to enjoy making supernormal profits in the long run. Because these high barriers to entry will ensure that no firms come in to actually take away the profits of the existing incumbent firms. Whereas if you exist in an industry where there are low barriers to entry, what will happen is when you are making supernormal profits now and the barriers to entry are low, so because barriers to entry are low, new firms can come in to erode away the existing firm's profits until it reaches normal profits. So this is the reason why only industries where there are high barriers to entry can continue to make supernormal profits in the long run.